Hi, I'm Anna, and today we're going to draw a picture of a rabbit using a Conte crayon, which is a kind of special charcoal. You can also use charcoal or pastel. We're going to work in black and white today. So here's our rabbit. What we want to do before we do anything is break this rabbit down into the pieces that make it up. For instance, this nose is a triangle shape. The eyes are ovals. The head is an oval. The body is a long oval. Basically, when we're dealing with rabbits, we're looking at a loaf of bread with legs and ears. They're pretty easy to draw. Let's put in the big shapes here. Notice that I'm drawing very lightly to get the big shapes in. No details on here yet, but we do want to get those big shapes in. Remember, it does not have to be a photographic representation of the rabbit. The only requirement is that the picture make you happy. If you wanted to take a photo, you would use a camera. You don't have to get exactly a likeness here. It just has to be a good picture. So here we are, we started, all got our shapes. And it's very light, so we're going to go over them more prominently now because we know where everything is. So let's get in an outline. Notice that I'm using a very hairy line rather than a smooth line. This helps us see that our rabbit has fur and is not made out of porcelain. And there's the ears. We notice how close the ears are to each other in the original picture. So we're going to come down and put some hair on that face. Looks like there's some delineation up here of the base of the ears, so we're going to put that in too, because we know where that goes now. So it looks like the oval is a little higher on here than I had drawn it, so we're going to draw it a little higher over here. There's no need to erase. We're just looking at the general shapes right now. Look, there's the tail. And we want to get in the shoulder of the rabbit. Come around through to the chest and then down again here. This leg is very close to the other leg. So we're just going to put a little shadow here for now. And we've got some hair and fur up here. We can shake that down to here, making sure to keep everything even and balanced. We need to have symmetry, which means it's the same on both sides, because most animals are going to have symmetry. It's very unusual when they don't, and we like them for their differences. So we're working here on the legs. Now, here's the shoulder coming through like this. It goes up like this. Now, if we could imagine the rabbit skeleton, we can see the backbone here, the ribs coming around here. Here's the breastbone. We're going to put those ribs in real lightly so we can see how to make this rabbit really three-dimensional. And there's the shoulder blades, or scapula. Here's the pelvis, where the leg goes in, and there is the leg right where we need it. And it's going to curl around like this. There's the knee, like this. Let's put that face in. Still being very careful. And here's the eyes. The eyes are about a third of the way down the head. Don't make them too low. And they're very far apart on a rabbit. There we go. A little of this. The nose tends to sit pretty low on a rabbit, and I probably started too high. But we can give him a little chin here, and that'll make it a little more balanced. Let's put the pupils in the eyes. All right. So back to that shoulder blade, the scapula. We're moving through this pretty quickly, so we're not going to be real detailed on all the lines. And back through here, making the line nice and solid, but definitely shaggy. It goes in a little indentation right there. Put some lines here for the fur. Now we are familiar with the skeleton of the rabbit. Let's move back to the face for a little while, shall we? And I have crooked that ear forward a little more than it needs to go, but I think it'll look nice. That is what we call artistic license, when you can change the picture according to what you see it as. I believe, looking at this, that this ear is taller than this ear, so let's make this ear a little taller. And we can bring that part up like that to sort of mask it. Notice that I don't erase anything. I work very light, and that way, when I want something to be taken off, I can just go over it with something darker. And get the outlines nice and black. When you really know for sure that what you're doing is right, you can draw as heavy and dark as you would like. But it's generally a good idea to start out with the fine lines. Put in a few hairs here and here. Like that. Up and around. And there is the chin. Here we go. Sort of a whiskery area. This is too exaggerated a hump in this rabbit's back. So we're going to come back down here. Oh, let's hit this up here a little more sharply. Now, one thing we can do with pastels and with Conte crayon is we can blend with our hand on the surface. So watch this. See how that softens that up? Makes it almost look like watercolor. And when you can do that, it'll save you some of your Conte crayon, and it'll help make it where you can blend shadows a lot better. I do recommend, if you're using this technique, that you wear a smock like I wear. You can wear an old shirt. You can wipe on your hands on your smock. If you're using two colors, this is very important because you don't want to mix the color by accident. Let's blend this down here too. Okay, so now we're going to take a look, and it looks like our rabbit has a turn to the side head up here, which is fine because the eyes are also turned. and the ears. If you change positioning, it's fine as long as you keep it consistent. And there's the nose. And we put in the mouth. It's like a little Y that's upside down. Let's go over here and look at this leg. And it looks like this whole area in here next to the leg is going to be pretty heavily shadowed. And our rabbit's front legs are also going to be pretty heavily shadowed. So let's go ahead and fill that in. And the rear leg does not have as much shadow on it. Making sure to work the details at the same time as working the big picture. They say that rabbit's feet are lucky, and this rabbit must be really lucky because he has 4 rabbit feet. Now I have moved the legs, and I have done it by mistake. But we can fill it in and make it work anyways. There we go. There's the shoulder blade, and we're going to go through here. This whole area is darker, like this, and like this. There's that back lucky rabbit foot. Getting the shadows and the outlines at the same time, because that's what makes sense. And this is where the leg joins onto the body. And here's the rear end of our rabbit. The nice big dark area right here. And here, the tail on. And we've got a pretty rough representation going on here, which means that it's about time for us to start doing some blending again. Get all the little hairy lines in. And look, there's that other foot and leg. Work that through. Go back up here. See how we work going all the way around the page. We don't stay on one area for a long time, because then we will run the risk of not having a good composition. What is composition? Composition is where you put your picture on the page. For instance, this is central composition, and this is also central composition. There are other ways to compose. You can have several items that form a shape, or several colors that draw the eye around a page. But this is a very simple drawing, and it's got the simple, classic, centralized composition. This rabbit's ear could it stand to be a little darker. Okay, it's time to do some blending again. Now pastels will really move for you. You can really get them to blend easily. Van Gogh did not like Conti crayons. He said he found them unyielding. And they are pretty unyielding. That's one of the good things about them. Now, if you can use Conti crayon and pastels together, which is what I like to do, you can really get some action going. And when we do a lesson with color, we'll do that. We'll put them together. Put the fur in. That's right. Get that fur going. Alright, now that rabbit over there has much darker eyes than mine, so I'm going to make my eyes a little darker because I can do that. Step back and take a look. Looks like we need to get some action around here because this area looks unfinished. Go. There we go. And we can start putting on some fur. Art is 1% inspiration and 99% doing these little hatchy marks. Now, doing this is not very interesting, but it will make such a big difference in how your picture looks. I'm going to go through here. Let's see, there we go. Get that paw attached. And go here. This paw in the front is darker than the one in the back, so we'll have to come through here and make that paw in the front a little lighter artificially. What we're going to do is blend that down. I get to wipe on my smock because I have it and it's safe. And go up through here. See how that looks. And that part there we can turn into a shadow, since we aren't going to use that whole section there. So here is the shadow. The shadow is good because it shows us that the rabbit is not floating in space, and it also helps us delineate the outlines a little better. There's some shadow back here. Notice that I'm working around and around the page again, and I'm going to stop and take a look. Let's see how I'm doing. I think it's doing pretty well. I think we'll do a little more blending, and then we'll put on some whiskers. Now, it does look like this area here is not delineated very well. We know that that rabbit's leg is going to go right in here. So we need to mark that out so we know where the bones are on the skeleton. If your bones on your skeleton are not correct, your picture is not going to be correct. That's why I recommend getting a good anatomy book with lots and lots of pictures of skeletons. Or you can have somebody go online for you and print out some animal skeletons. Then you'll see how everything works together. All right, let's do a little more blending, tighten up, and then we'll add whiskers. One of the things we want to do when we're doing a black and white picture or a color picture is always be very aware of where the light source is in your picture. So for instance, in this picture, the light is coming this way. That means if all of a sudden this side is light and this side is dark, but the rest of the rabbit shows the light going this way, it's not going to make any visual sense. So we need to be very, very aware. Where is the light in this picture? Also, be aware of the different levels of gradation you have. You have very dark like this, and you have very light like this, and then you have all things in between. It all depends on how hard you press with your Conte crayon and what kind of paper you're using and how soft a Conte crayon you have. This one is a very hard, unyielding one itself. So we know Van Gogh wouldn't be interested in it. I think that looks pretty good. Let's give it some whiskers and we'll finish up. Don't press too hard when you're doing whiskers. You don't want to break your drawing utensil. Looks like we've got a little bit more whiskers up here and here. And coming out like this. And out the side. Oh, there's whiskers all around. All around everywhere. So there we have it. A Conte crayon rabbit. Let's darken that eye a little bit more so it looks more like the original. This has been Anna Troglin drawing a Conte crayon rabbit with black Conte crayon. Thanks and have a great day.